Welcome to today's deep dive. Today is Saturday, 23 May 2026, and we are looking at the Gospel of John, chapter 21, verses 20 through 25. That's from the Saturday of the 7th week of Eastertide. And, today we're looking at this moment where the Apostle Peter acts, well, exactly like a jealous coworker craning his neck to look over at your desk.
Yeah, it really is a highly relatable moment, especially when you think about the context. I mean, this happens during Eastertide, right after the resurrection, where Jesus is appearing to the disciples and sort of handing out these final, really critical instructions.
Right. And Jesus has just told Peter very directly, follow me. But instead of simply accepting that, Peter turns around and he sees the disciple whom Jesus loved, which, is the text's way of referring to John, same guy who leaned back against Jesus at the Last Supper to ask about Judas.
Exactly, that same disciple.
So Peter literally points at John and immediately asks, Lord, what about this man? And I have to admit, reading this, Jesus' response sounds almost incredibly rude.
It really does.
He just says, if it is my will that he remain until I come, what is that to you? You follow me. I mean, why is a spiritual leader being so blunt here?
Well, it definitely sounds harsh to our modern ears, but Jesus is addressing this very deep psychological reflex. Like when we receive a massive, life-altering instruction, kind of like Peter just did, our immediate human instinct is to seek status or, reassurance.
Oh, absolutely. We just want to know where we stand relative to others, right?
So it's basically, we ask things like, is his job easier than mine? Or does he get special treatment because he's the beloved one? It's pure status anxiety.
Yeah, the classic coworker comparison.
Exactly. And Jesus' bluntness is really the necessary antidote to that fear. He's establishing the absolute boundary of personal vocation, explaining to Peter that his spiritual path, his literal fate, really has absolutely zero bearing on John's path.
So comparison isn't just a minor distraction here.
No, not at all. It's a complete derailment of Peter's unique purpose.
But, the comparison derails things anyway, doesn't it? Because the text shows this hilarious and kind of tragic ancient game of telephone.
Oh, the rumor. Yeah.
Right. A rumor instantly spreads among the early Christians that John is never going to die. How does a sharp lesson on personal focus turn into, like, a rumor about immortality?
Well, because human nature hates ambiguity.
Yeah.
And we just love finding loopholes. Jesus used a hypothetical condition to make a point, saying, if it is my will that he remain. He was essentially saying, even if I made him immortal, it's none of your business.
But they completely missed the point.
Totally. The anxious minds of the followers stripped away the if. They ignored that difficult command to follow him, which requires real hard work, and just seized on the sensational detail instead.
Wow, so they took a strict theological boundary and just spun it into a sci-fi prophecy.
That's a great way to put it. It's the ultimate avoidance tactic.
Yeah.
Because, fixating on someone else's supposed miracle is so much easier than doing your own difficult work.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
The author of the gospel actually has to pause the narrative right here to explicitly fact-check the rumor, making sure to clarify that Jesus never said John wouldn't die.
Right, but the author doesn't just stop at the fact check, which is what's so interesting to me. The text takes this massive, sweeping pivot.
It really does.
It goes from this petty, interpersonal squabble over rumors straight into a cosmic claim. I mean, it ends by stating that if everything Jesus did were written down, the world itself could not contain the books. Why jump from a misunderstanding about one guy's lifespan to the entire world overflowing with books?
That pivot is just brilliant because it contrasts our human smallness with divine vastness. Peter and the others were obsessing over the mechanics of one man's life, trying to put a neat, quantifiable box around what Jesus was doing.
And the uncontainable books image just shatters that box.
Exactly. It's a reminder to you that you simply cannot measure or compare the works of Christ. They're just too immense.
So the comparison game isn't just distracting, it's actually illogical when you're dealing with something infinite.
Right. When you truly realize the scope of that infinity, you stop worrying about what's on your neighbor's desk. You just focus on writing your own chapter.
I love that. And I really want to leave you, our listener, with this thought to mull over today. If the physical world couldn't contain the books of what Jesus did over just a few short years of ministry back then, well, imagine the infinite, unwritten volumes he is continuing to write through our lives today.
That is such a powerful thought to take away from this passage.
It really is. So let's close out this deep dive today with a brief prayer. Lord Jesus, give us the grace to keep our eyes fixed on you. When we are tempted to compare our journey with others, remind us of your simple command. You follow me. Help us to trust in your infinite works. Amen.